Yeah.
Ooh.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope Santa Claus treated everybody well this year.
He treated me really well.
This is episode 665. You know, there was nothing that we did to make the New Year's Eve episode 666. It just turned out that way. That's just the way fate had it.
It is too. Like, we could have manipulated it to where it was on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I had to talk you off that ledge.
I don't know what this is. If this is a bad omen. Episode 666 tomorrow. Be sure to tune in. Mike is going to shapeshift from his normal look to the demon that he is.
And come in with some devil horns tomorrow.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, John. John says on episode 666, they sacrificed Derpy. Hey, you never know.
Poor Derpy's not even here catching strays.
You never know. You never know what's in plan for episode 666.
No, you don't.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the show. This is episode 665 of the Two Dumb Yinzers. I'd like to say to everybody this morning, welcome back. I hope everybody had a great Christmas. I really do. Of course, we are just on the doorstep of the New Year's holiday itself. Today is the 30th of December. Tomorrow will be Christmas Eve. Will be episode 666. I don't know what to make of that, but it is what it is. And then New Year's, which kind of maps out the week for us. We will not be on New Year's Day, but we'll be on the rest of the week. So it's pretty simple. Good morning, Roger, on the board as well. Episode 666. Too bad it couldn't have fell like on Halloween.
Yeah, that would have been perfect. Really we would have had to jam pack a lot of episodes in.
Well, the fact that you are a skinwalker, Mike, that helps.
Yes.
Do something tomorrow.
Shapeshifter, skinwalker, demon.
Shapeshifter, skinwalker. But we got some things we got to go over today, Mike. Boy, do we got some things to go over. It feels like it feels like it's been a while since we played our last game, which because it was last Wednesday. But we do got the update, guys. The Week 18 game against Cincinnati at home will be Saturday night at 8 o'clock. They're doing a whole AFC North thing on Saturday. The early game is going to be the Ravens and the Browns. So we'll then know at that point if we could win the division before we even step on the field Saturday night. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if it's a bad thing, but it'd be what it'd be.
I don't like that. I want them both happening at the same time. I think it adds more excitement as a fan, as a viewer, as both games are going on. You know, that way all day you're sitting there waiting. Then if the Ravens win, you're like, okay, what's the point of waiting? And all the game's a letdown. No.
But we still got spots to fill. We have to figure out where we're at. Are we going to be 5, 6, 7, 3? I mean, at this point, there's still a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, but I don't know. As a viewer, I prefer having both going at the same time and let my anxiety happen all at once, not spread out through the whole flipping day.
Good morning, Jen. Jen on the board says, back from my dad's up north. Sorry I missed you last week. Oh, well, you were up there for quite some time.
Yeah,
wow.
I felt like she's been up there since Thanksgiving, it felt like.
I'd say it sure does. Good morning to Jen as well on the board. Glad to see you back. Glad to see everybody back. Good morning. So here we go, guys. Steelers, they do play Saturday night, their Week 18 game against the Bengals. They host the Bengals at 8 o'clock on Saturday evening at Acrisure Stadium. And, of course, the Ravens and the Browns play earlier in the day, which will dictate some things, certainly as far as the division title goes. This is where we're at. But, Mike, there's a lot of questions that we got, a lot of things we got to talk about today. A lot of questions, certainly after the last 3 games. We kind of chalked it up as, okay, this is going to be a practice playoff run. Let's see how it goes. We'll go from there. It played out like this. We lost 27-13 to the Eagles. We lost 27-13. Then we lost 34-17 to the Ravens, and then 29-10 to the Chiefs. Guys, yes, that is a total. A total of in them games we lost 90-40 by score. We lost by 50 points to those 3 teams in entirety. Excuse me. They scored 90 points. We scored 40 points. The possibilities of the Steelers dropped to 2.4% chances of winning the Super Bowl. There is talks of a typical Steeler late season meltdown. There's talks of guys not giving it all on defense. There's talks of, there's a lot of things going on right now. And this is all after losing a few games. And we were all feeling pretty good when we were 10-3. Again, I've said it over and over here myself. I said 10-3. We're top the division. We're in the playoffs. We're above the Ravens. We have the tiebreaker. I went on with this for, days. But here we are, guys. We're basically, we kind of control our destiny in a way, but still we are at the mercy of a lot of other things. My thinking on this, Mike, best case scenario, get the 5 seed, get the Houston Texans in the first round.
That's going to be the easy path to win a playoff game. That team is very beatable. They're not the same team we played last year. They're not the same team that they were last year. Their interior O-line is complete heart garbage. We should be able to exploit that. Tank Dell, my God, I feel bad for this kid. He's been shot, injured, and now his kneecaps all dislocated. So they without their number 2 receiver. There's no Nico Collins. But in that defense, Will Anderson, he's about it. Him and Derek Stingley Jr. No one else in that defense has really stepped up this year. And it's they took a huge step backwards this year, Texans. And I think, between these 2 teams would be the perfect, 5-6 matchup, whatever the matchup would be between 2 god-awful teams that no one wants to see in the playoffs. And someone has to win this game. That's the only positive thing for both fan bases. You get the honor of going on to get sacrificed against, Baltimore, Buffalo, or Kansas City. Not to be pessimistic and negative, but 3 weeks ago, I was like, all right, man, we got a decent chance here. And then all of a sudden, guys,
everybody thought we could beat the Chiefs, which I didn't think was
everyone forgot how to block. Everyone forgot how to run routes. Quarterbacks forgot how to read defenses. Corners forgot how to cover guys. Secondary forgets how to, communicate. A lot of we went from, coach of the year to worst coach of all time. We went from a hot team no one wants to face in the playoffs to now everyone wants to face us in the playoffs because it's a glorified bye week.
Guys, in those games,
I'm sorry, Steeler Freak had this comment of the year: beat the Texans, get clubbed, but like a baby seal at Arrowhead. You know what? Lather, rinse, repeat, man. That's the Steelers' playoff cycle. I'll take it. It's comfort. It's comfort.
Every game in those 3 games that we just played, the margin between us and the other team, it got wider every game. We lost to Philly by 14. We lost to the Ravens by 17. And then we lost to the Kansas City Chiefs by 19. Nothing got better. Nothing got better during those 3 games. We got our wide receiver back after being injured. Nothing gets better. As a matter of fact, this is the 4th time in the past 6 years the Steelers lost 3 consecutive games in the month of December. It's also the 5th time in the past 7 years they have lost 3 in a row after Thanksgiving. That has to stop. That isn't happening with the teams that we expect to see in the Super Bowl, which we'll talk more about that later as we go into scores, Mike. I think there's some interesting stories that came up certainly over the weekend about just the seeding of the teams that are favorites and who might just upseed them. And it's going to be interesting, guys, to stick around. Jen says, I'm already sick of people asking if the Steelers made a mistake letting Pickett go. I don't think they didn't make a mistake. They just did we really upgrade, guys? And before we answer this, let me just say this: if the Steelers lose this week, and it's 50-50 at this point because the Bengals, they really need to win. They're going to be playing good football. And remember, we only beat them 44-38 last time. So if we lose and then we don't get that win in the playoffs like we want to, this team does risk the chance of going 10-7, being one and done, just like the Kenny Pickett team did of last year. So, on one hand, things, they seem pretty bad, and with a new coordinator and with a second string quarterback who's better than what we had last year. So again, there's something on this team. There's something going on that we just keep, it keeps happening every year in, year out, 4 of the past 6 years, 5 of the past 7 years. Something has got to give here, guys. We give our opinions and our solutions all the time on this show, but what it can be to fix this team, I and Mike will give you the answer later on in this show. Stick around because we do. I have the answer anyway, and all you have to do is look to the north for the answer. But we will get back to that shortly, guys. Let's talk a little bit more about what's going on with the Steeler team right now. There's a lot of fingers pointing, as was going on in Philadelphia just prior to us going and playing them guys. Cam, what's my man's name? Cam Hayward. I'm sorry. Cam Hayward says, when 10 guys do their job and one doesn't, we get screwed. And quote, also Patrick Queen says, I just can't explain it. It just keeps happening. We keep talking about it and no one is doing anything about it. And quote, Mike, the mystery Steeler who's not holding up their end. I have it narrowed down to 2 guys.
Me too.
The 2, they may be the 2 obvious ones, but Minkah Fitzpatrick is one name that's certainly been floating around.
Yeah.
Which has been more of a fan speculation, but one that I keep seeing more on sites that could be related to players. It is all pointing back to Cam Sutton being the guy and him possibly getting yanked from that starting job. And if that be the case, that'd be the case. I mean, if one of these other guys step up and can do the things that Cam isn't doing. And why isn't Cam doing these things, Mike? Is he being lazy? Is he just not, again, he left here, he was playing well. He went to Detroit, played well, got in a little bit of some trouble, came back, and this is what we're getting. So again, I don't know for sure who the mystery Steeler is at this time. A lot of speculation. And again, I think those 2 people are high atop everyone's list. But Mike, what do you make of somebody on this defense being the one guy? And in my opinion, the reason one guy not giving everything is not the reason we lost 90-40, because that person did not give up 50 points to keep these 3 games separate. But let's stick to the question at hand, Mike. Who is the mystery Steeler that isn't holding up their end?
I think it is Cam Sutton. And I also think it's Minkah Fitzpatrick and Damontae Kazee. I think those 3 in the secondary always look confused as to where they should be. I know there's a video going around. I've seen it on YouTube, seen it on TikTok, seen it on Insta of against the Ravens when the Mark Andrews touchdown. Cam Sutton's coming in motion, then Minkah Fitzpatrick points him off to cover Mark Andrews. Like, why would you have a guy stop and then have to, change his position to go cover a guy? And he didn't. He stumbled and kept following man. He was following in motion. Minkah Fitzpatrick, if you're seeing Mark Andrews needs covered, why don't you cover him? Cam Sutton's already moving a guy in motion. He's staying in motion. Don't make the guy stop and turn around. I think those 2 on that play were big miscommunication of Minkah should have taken the guy that he was already on, let Cam follow the guy that he was following. And, maybe they still would have scored, but you had a better chance of, just playing your man right there. Kazee, you're seeing him fly around too much. You love it when he plays physical and is affecting the play positively, but hasn't been. Again, you're seeing Cam Sutton out of position on crossing routes. Linebackers expecting someone to be there behind them, whether it be a strong safety, free safety, knowing they're providing them that second depth and they're in cover 2 and cover 3 situations. So I think it's those 3 guys, and no one wants to really say it's those 3 guys. And like you said, Cam Sutton, when he left Pittsburgh, he was a highly sought after, corner. He was our slot corner. People were saying he could play inside, outside. Went to Detroit. Didn't fare well in their system. Like you said, had problems, came back. But when he first started getting integrated back in the team, he was playing well. And then this all of a sudden, these guys are doing week 1, week 2 problems of communication. There's something needs to be done in that secondary. Someone needs to figure them out.
These guys, they have ample time. They played last Wednesday. They don't play till Saturday. They get a little extra time between these 2 games. So maybe, just maybe, they could have some meetings of the minds, figure out some answers. And again, this is not going to be an easy game for the Steelers. The Cincinnati Bengal team, they need to win. They want to win. They're going to come out and do what it is that they do very well, is pass the ball. You've seen them. They have not done that all season.
Yeah,
You know,
and
this
they
is
are.
what you're going to get.
Yeah.
But this has seemed to have been the Achilles heel of the Steeler team. Excuse me, one more time for stopping the passing game when you do have a really good quarterback back there. It's going to be a challenge for the Steeler team. Mike, let me jump over to the other side of the ball. And here's something that was brought up by Terrell Owens. Of course, everybody remembers the Hall of Fame wide receiver Terrell Owens. He calls out George Pickens for his game against the Chiefs. He calls out Pickens for his minimal effort versus the Chiefs. I mean, I seen a couple plays where George Pickens was playing his ass off, like where he broke a tackle when the play was called down, and they should have let the play go because it could have been a touchdown. But I mean, I didn't go back and watch the film. I took a little time off after Christmas. Mike, is there any merit held to Terrell Owens calling out George Pickens for minimal effort?
I saw like some of his routes that people were posting online where it didn't look like he was running the hardest, but you know what? I see a lot of receivers do that. T.O. was one of them, so it was kind of, it made me chuckle. Like, you know, him and Randy Moss were known for taking some plays off they weren't going to their side, and maybe that's what George was doing. Knew it wasn't going to come to his side, but still, you gotta run through it, and you got to work hard for it. You see, George is starting to get the boo boo face. You know, again, things weren't going his way. They're having to calm him down on the sidelines. Like, it's going to be a constant thing with George Pickens. That's just who he is. But like you said, that play where, you know, he's battling through four guys, he puts the effort out there. It's just, you know, sometimes George lets his emotions get the best of him in some of those routes. I think it did, but that wasn't the only reason we lost that game.
No, again, and we lost by 50 points over those 3 weeks. There's deeper issues here.
Yeah.
Again, it's not because George Pickens is in a bad mood or because he whatever. There's some things that need to be fixed, which is leading me to these comments. Mike, let me start with John here.
Yeah.
John says, hire innovative young ACs, hold scouts accountable for their picks. Tomlin must change his coaching style and let the ACs handle the X's and O's, and he motivates the Joes. And Roger says, but how is this happening every week? What is Austin doing if players are out of position? And both very, very valid points. Yeah. You know, the coaching has to do their job as well.
Like back to that Steeler Freaks comment about that. Like, you watch any of that Hard Knocks, you can see, like, when Tomlin speaks, they listen to him. You know, they will follow him, you know, to hell and back. But I think we need better coordinators. Let Tomlin be that motivator. That's, you know, like a Bill Belichick, Chuck Noll model. Like, I'm just going to be the CEO. I'm going to let everyone else handle their responsibilities, and then get him a clock management coach, and that will fix a lot of issues right there.
Mike,
and then. Yeah, and like, in that bleeds into what Roger's saying, like Terrell Austin, he first part of the season, you know, we're, you know, complimenting how well they were adjusting that defense in the second half. Now these last 3 games, they can't make simple adjustments. Like, what the hell happened? What happens to this team when you know, it's after Thanksgiving, they forget how to do the basic stuff? It's frustrating at this point because you see them do it all season long. You saw us adjusting on offense, in defense. You know, the stats were there that we were making adjustments. Now all of a sudden we can't. It makes no sense to me why there's a mental block on this team and this coaching staff when the season gets to the end.
Yeah, I mean, so I see the common trend here that is Tomlin's D, not Austin's. I agree. I mean, a lot of everything goes into play. Nothing looks fantastic right now, and it starts from the top all the way to the bottom. Why are we playing our worst football at the worst possible time to be playing our worst football? Or were we exposed? It's another question that came up. Mike, was this team exposed over this last 3 weeks, and does that pretty much throw the rest of the ride in the chipper? Because now the good teams have seen us. They know how to beat. They know how to play us. It isn't like we're going to be that team that, oh, this team could probably be the team that beats Kansas City, which we proved to be an incredibly terrible call. Mike, was this team exposed? And if so, how do you reverse that with very minimal amount of time?
I don't want to say exposed, but maybe we found our level. You know, water always finds its level. We played 3 elite teams, and I think we're a good team, not an elite team. And this is what happens when you have a good team going up against an elite team. You have to be on your P's and Q's. You can't have simple communication errors. You can't forget how to block. Can't forget how to beat the guy in front of you on defense when you play these elite teams. And that's what happened. You know, if we were kind of close there, against Cincinnati's 17-10 at half, and then they just outplayed us at the end. Same thing with the Ravens, where it was a close game, then all of a sudden it wasn't a close game. This is what happens when a good team is not firing on all cylinders against the weak teams.
Yeah, I think you might. Did you say the wrong team? Because Cincinnati had 21 points against us in the first half. I don't think that's who you were talking about, correct?
No, I was talking about these last 3 games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but even in that Cincinnati one, but we were able to keep up with them because they don't have a good defense, and we were able to match pace with them. But these 3 teams, they're elite teams, and we're not there yet. And it is what it is.
We just have to take it. We just have to turn around and take it, and we're just not good enough to compete with these guys. Is that what it boils down to?
Manage expectations as a fan. It's like I want us to go in there and beat these teams, but it's probably not going to happen. For it to happen, we have to have our best game, and they have to have they have to have an off day, and it's going to be hard to.
How do we fix this, Mike? After years, almost a decade now.
Yeah.
How do we change the fortune? I know the answer. Yeah. But I want to hear other people's opinions.
It's like Steeler Freak saying it's not going to happen until the offseason. Is it going to be a top-down change of fire the entire coaching staff, and then you start trading Minkah Fitzpatrick, you trade TJ Watt, you let Cam walk, you let Dan Moore walk and go with that young O-line. You go out and find another quarterback. Do you go and I think I know where you're going with this. Back up the Brinks truck to another pending free agent quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's a lot to be done between then and now. So we will get into that more, Mike. Let's see. Also, Jen says we aren't good enough, but man, we are moving forward. Roger says if you're referring to the Reed and Casey's offense, at least Reed is calling plays with the play. Hey, listen, there's no debate. I mean, nobody's calling for Tomlin to be atop the coach of the year chart. There's that's
not anymore.
there's a lot of things right now that's going on that needs to be fixed. And again, I'll make the statement. I'll say it's from top to bottom. There's things that need to be fixed from top to bottom. Kenny Pickett makes a statement yesterday that there's something about that locker room in Philadelphia. It has a college feel. Everybody loves each other in Philadelphia. So something gives in these situations, and some things like that go a long way. Look how well that team does play together. I do want to say, guys, though, our 3 quarterbacks last year that led us to the 10-7 record and 1 and done in the playoffs, they all threw touchdown passes yesterday over the weekend in the NFL. Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph, all 3 threw touchdowns. So something they didn't do much here, they're now doing out. And Kenny played with broken ribs. I got to give them all the credit in the world. They went over and they did what they were supposed to do in that division. Saquon and Kenny, the Penn State Pitt combo. Kenny with broken ribs. They go and they win like 45-7. Not an Eagles.
Barkley, baby. It was all Saquon.
Not a Philadelphia Eagles fan. And yet Saquon has not done. Even he has not done what Najee Harris has done in his first 4 years, which I'll get into that in just a second, as he did eclipse a record in the NFL, something that hasn't been done since the early 2000s. But again, Philadelphia, I got to give it to them, guys. Again, their locker room maybe is something that we should learn a little bit something from. Again, everyone loves playing for Tomlin, but when it comes down to it, where's the heart when it comes down to the field in important games? I haven't seen it in almost a decade, but that doesn't mean it won't. That doesn't mean it'll continue, Mike, does it?
Maybe the players should show a little professional pride and show up.
I agree.
It goes hand. It's both ways. It's not just coaching. It's not just playing.
I'm not saying it's just coaching.
No. I know you're not. I'm just letting.
I made a statement for that for a reason. I said from top to bottom.
That's it is. Yeah,
I think it's top to bottom. Mike, and this could lead to one of the things that we said. Is this an opportunity for this team to make a complete overhaul this offseason? What do you guys think on the board about this? Getting rid of some of your big name players, freeing up some of that money, and using it to go get a winning quarterback. I don't think that this is out of the question. Maybe some of these guys that, again, Cam Hayward, he's having a good year this year. But again, guys, the way that this team is going, maybe we can get somebody else in there that could play his position. As long as we get a quarterback that could come along and move the ball down the field and not freak out and throw down in the checkdowns every other time. Like your elite quarterbacks around the league when you're watching Buffalo and you're watching Kansas City and you're watching, all these teams that have a quarterback that's probably going to be in the playoff or in the Super Bowl a lot sooner than we are, guys. So again, I do have the answer, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Like we're sure long from the days when Ben Roethlisberger had 12 touchdowns in 2 games, weren't we?
Yeah. Oh, we are. We are. And
12 touchdowns in 2 games.
It's gonna be
that's what having one of those quarterbacks means.
Yeah.
Is things like that.
Yeah,
we don't have that. We're not even close to that. No. And there's about 3 teams in this league that are, and we're not one. Unfortunately, show me where I'm wrong.
Yeah, and I'm okay with the Steelers having any defense that gives up 20, 21, 23 points a game. As long as we have an offense that can score 30, 35 points a game, it's okay to, as an organization, embrace the modern day NFL. And, I'd rather have a sure-fired, high-powered offense than a defense, relying on the defense. Because we see what happens when you rely on the defense. They can only do so much. They can only bend it, not break so much before they eventually start breaking. So like I like Russ. I think he still has a year or two left in him, but if he can get younger, better, I'm all for it. But like Jen's saying too, the O-line has really stepped down their play in the past couple of weeks, and again, you're seeing that have the effect on the quarterback as well. Russ isn't as effective now with the O-line in front of him. And part of it's on Russ too. Sometimes he's holding the ball too long, and other times it's the O-line. It's a cumulative effect with this team. It's not just you can point to one thing and say this is the problem. It's everything is the problem right now. And
they look like crap. Do you watch the game?
Yeah, they do.
Guys. We're watching these games. They just don't look like a good football team. They're not playing good football. They're not playing. There's no heart. Listen, if you watch a team like Detroit play, these guys want to win. These guys are out there. They're playing with heart. They're on every play, giving 100. I can honestly say I'm watching a Steeler team, and it don't feel like that. It does not feel like that. And I kind of want to get a touch back down to reality here and see what they look like against the Bengals, against the team that maybe isn't out of our league, if you want to call it that. Yeah. Just to see what we are capable of doing again. But again, I mean, if we end up playing the Ravens, or let's just say we do play Houston, like it was said in the comments earlier, and we end up getting Buffalo in the second round or Kansas City. So at the end of the day, are we just kicking the can down the road here till it's done and get ready to go in the preseason and try to figure this all out once again? Or does anybody out there, let me know, does anybody believe that this Steeler team has a legitimate chance of even advancing past the second round of the playoffs? And if so, I would like an explanation, because I don't see it at this point. Again, there's a lot of down on this team because we just did take 3 losses against 3 teams we maybe could have very well been playing in the playoffs. Very discouraging what we've seen. But at the end of the day, it's a week-to-week league, and they say any given Sunday, whether how much you buy into that or not, but how many any given Sundays can you actually get in a row, especially against a team of this caliber that we're facing? Guys, it's discouraging. But again, maybe after seeing this team play against Cincinnati, maybe they could build a little bit of momentum off of that into the playoffs. But again, guys, it feels a lot like last year did. It feels a lot like once you get into the playoffs and you play against those teams that are legit teams, we don't stand a chance. I mean, let's go to Buffalo and let them score 40 more points against us. It's just, I mean, this team scored 40 points and more than they're insane. I don't want to see them. Where does that leave us? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think we can beat the Texans. And like I said earlier, after that, it's like, who's going to slaughter us? Yeah. Who's going to beat us next?
And maybe that's the thing. Maybe, maybe just, and the thing going into the season was get that win, get that one playoff win. But it's not about that. I mean, anybody. Cleveland Browns got a playoff win last year. Yeah. You know what I mean? To be considered a serious.
Would you be upset to say, okay, hey, they go and they beat the Texans and they go in the second round and they lose, but it's a damn good back and forth game. Like, we're hanging with Buffalo. I think
anybody would love that.
Yeah, It's all how that loss is going to. How we're going to take that L, because like the last couple have been brutal, 35, 40 points scored against and not much doing on the offense. And that's completely unacceptable. Losses are bad enough, but being blown out like that, bad. Let's say they beat the Texans and they go in and lose by a field goal to the Ravens, lose by touchdowns to the Bills, to where it was a close game back and forth. I don't think a lot of people would be too upset, because, okay, you're showing, okay, hey, we were able to hang with the big boys, but after these 3 games, that seems like a pipe dream at this point. But before these 3 games, it felt like, an actuality that could happen.
Absolutely. Good morning. The field is still. What's up, brother? I hope you had a great Christmas. Start with Jen right here. She says we thought the AFC North. I'm sorry, had the most competitive division, but it's the NFC North. Ooh, no two ways
Oh
about
yeah,
that.
oh yeah.
And Phil says, cheers to them Yinzers. It all goes back to coaching. I agree. Great coaches make adjustments during halftime. And as games go, it is said you play the way that you practice. I couldn't agree more. I think that you practice hard, you play well. But again, listen, I'm not going to bash Tomlin. That's the easy thing to do right now. I think let's look at this in entirety. Yes, I think it's top to bottom. I don't think the team's playing well. They just don't look good. I think, as Mike said, the schemes on defense are whack, which is only going to lead to more problems going against teams that could pass the ball really well from here on out.
Yeah.
We're not going to face a team that doesn't have a good team from here on out, a good offense for sure, with the Cincinnati game coming up on Saturday night at 8 o'clock, going in further into the playoffs. Maybe again, Houston, we get, we could maybe beat this team because they're having an equally bad season like we are, a bunch of issues, injuries, things like this. But right now, it doesn't look good, guys. But again, let's get this Cincinnati game back under our belt. Let's see how we feel after that. Maybe, again, you could build a little bit of confidence. But it sure doesn't seem good, again, after losing 90-40 in the biggest test of the year for your team against teams that you hope to be in that same caliber as. 90-40. We lost by 50 points in total to those three teams. John says the Steelers were winning defensive turnovers, sacks, and luck earlier in the season. That dried up. Wilson never used the middle of the field, and now D's caught on how to defend them. 13 seconds says, I need a massage. I do too. I do too.
I think we all can use a massage. Hey, is Derpy's Ant available for a group rate?
Peaches. Is Peaches available for 13 seconds? That's all it's going to take me is 13 seconds with Peaches. Guys, all right, in a few things here. The Steelers' possibilities for the playoffs, guys. Let's go over this. All right, so the Steelers can win. The Steelers can win the AFC North with the Steelers win and a Ravens loss. That's the route. Steelers are 3 seed, and they will host the Chargers if that be the case. At this time, that's how it would play out. In the Ravens, again, they play the Browns. They play the Browns, who they lost to earlier this year, but losing to the Browns twice in a season, it's tough. Also, Mike, the Ravens will win the AFC North if the Steelers they could win. Ravens. No, it's got a couple different in there. Ravens win the AFC North with the Steelers loss and a Chargers win. Steelers are 6th seed and will visit the Ravens, or the Ravens if they win the AFC North because the Steelers win and the Ravens win, or the Steelers lose and the Chargers lose. The Steelers are the 5 seed and they'll visit the Texans. So anyway, you slice it. I want the Texans. I'm kind of. Again, give us a game. We need a game to kind of get back on our feet. And whether it means anything, I don't know. But we kind of need something here to prove to ourselves, the team, the fans, everybody around Steeler Nation that we belong to at least be this far along and maybe get a first round win, guys. As the window kind of seems to be closing a little bit as the season goes on. P says millions of peaches for me. That's right, baby. Presidents of the United States of America. I love them.
Great.
Jen says, let's go Browns. We need the Browns. If the Browns could win, that would certainly help over the Ravens. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I just saw this on Twitter. It was Mike Tomlin's teams are 11-0 when they have 10 days more of rest against.
I sure hope that plays into.
I hope so too. But this has been the year, man, where it seems like we've got those trends.
Why does he not have a Coach of the Year award? That's the only thing I don't understand. Why?
I don't know. Because Kevin Stefanski with 95 first-round overall #1 picks on his team gets it.
Well, not every year.
Yeah, not every year. Belichick should have had more. Cowher should have had more.
Our dude's been there for 20 years. He should have won.
Right?
Already. We never had a losing season under him. You know what I mean? At some point, something should give.
Really? I never knew that.
Also, Mike, the scenarios for the final AFC spot look like this. The Denver Broncos, they play against Kansas City. They win, or a Denver and a Cincinnati loss. The Broncos get in on that 7th seed. The Dolphins, they play the Jets with a win and a Denver loss. The Dolphins get in as the 7th seed, or the Bengals, they play the Steelers with a win and a Denver and a Miami loss. The Bengals will be the 7th seed. So those 3 teams right there fighting for the 7th seed. I didn't think Miami would be anywhere back in. I didn't think Cincinnati would be anywhere back in it. The Broncos held that spot pretty tight for most of the season, that 7th seed in the AFC side of the bracket. But it comes down to those 3 teams right there, Mike. The Colts, they lose yesterday to the New York Giants. Just devastatingly ends their season. They were in this little hunt right here between these teams. But the Dolphins, the Broncos, and the Bengals all fighting to take on the Buffalo Bills in the first round of the playoffs. Poor teams.
It's funny, too. I think Kansas City's going to sit Mahomes and a couple other starters. So Carson Wentz now holds 4 franchises' playoff hopes in his hands.
Who does Carson Wentz play for?
He plays for the Chiefs.
Wait, who do they play?
I forget who they play.
No, they're not significant to anything. Oh, the Broncos need to beat. Okay, well, maybe that'll help the Broncos out.
Yeah. So Carson Wentz, man. But so I saw that on Twitter as well. People are like, "Oh God, Carson Wentz is going to control so many teams' futures depending on how he plays." But even with their backups, I think Kansas City wins that game.
Yeah, you should certainly like your chances if Carson Wentz is the person that has your season on the line, unless he's your quarterback.
I know, right?
Let's get into some of these. Yeah, the AFC has been weak this year. It has. I mean, it's top heavy with those few teams, but for the most part, there's a bunch of average teams like the Steelers, the Chargers, the Broncos, teams of this nature.
I thought it would be the other way around. I thought the NFC was going to be the weak division this year, weak conference this year.
Let's get into the games of the week, Mike, that just went down. The Steelers, of course, they lost 29-10 to the Chiefs on Wednesday.
That felt like a month ago. I thought the season was over. I forgot there was one more week to go.
Mark Malone, good morning to you, my friend. He says Tomlin is going to get his ass handed to him yet again. Mike, let me get back into this. The Chiefs, they did beat the Steelers 29-10 on Wednesday. Yeah. Also, the Ravens, they beat the Texans 31-2, which I like. I like our chances. Give us the Texans, please.
Yeah, that made me feel so much better.
The Thursday game, we get one game to enjoy on Thursday, and it ends up being a 6-3 game. The Seahawks beat the Bears 6-3 on Thursday night. Get into the Saturday games, guys. The Chargers beat the Patriots 40-7. Ooh. The Bengals, they beat the Broncos in a pretty good game. That went to overtime. Mm-hmm. The Bengals win 30-24. The Rams 13-9 over the Cardinals. The Eagles 41-7 over the Cowboys. Buccaneers 48, Panthers 14. The Bills 40, the Jets 14. This one here, these Colts, man. 45-33, they lost to the Giants.
That's the Giants' first home win all year.
That's insane. And the Colts are trying to fight and win that playoff spot.
Yeah.
They're the worst team in the league, the Giants.
Yeah. Terrible.
Raiders 25, Saints 10. Jacksonville 20, Titans 13. The Dolphins 20, the Browns 3. That's what scares me about the Browns. I think they threw in the towel already. They lost 20-3 to the Dolphins. I don't think that this team stands a chance against Baltimore. Minnesota 27, Packers 25, and last night the Commanders, they win 30-24 over the Falcons in overtime. The Vikings, they can win. The Vikings could be the number 1 seed in the NFC. It comes down to the last game of the year. Minnesota at Detroit. They both have 2 losses on the season. Whoever wins that game will be the number 1 seed in the NFC. Mind-blowing that the Minnesota Vikings, after all that we've seen and heard about Detroit all year, all that we've seen and heard about Philadelphia, the Minnesota Vikings could be the number 1 seed overall in the NFC, having the week off, having the whole entire playoffs go through them. And you know what's even funnier is Detroit would have to go on the road to play every playoff game. The Lions, who finishes with that record, would have to go on the road the whole way through the playoffs. So that just gives you an idea. You add the Packers in there, of course. They take the L last night to the Vikings 27-25. Could have really went either way. The Packers just ran out of time at the end. They had a nice comeback, but the Packers, they have a good team as well. That NFC North, as Jen stated earlier on the board, is looking pretty good, Mike.
Yeah, they're looking damn good. And the Lions played tonight too, so
they got the 49ers on the road tonight, Monday night, 8:15. So there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to beat the Niners.
Yeah, they're going to be. That team's done. And you look at some of these scores around the league, you can tell a bunch of teams have given up. New England's given up. The Jets,
I can't believe
New
the
England,
Giants.
Dallas,
Didn't you say the
Carolina.
Giants could have very well screwed themselves out of the number one pick in the draft?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
a bunch of dummies. That's
Well,
how
like,
bad they are. That's
well,
how bad they are.
yeah,
They can't
the
even lose
player.
right.
Yeah, see, the players don't care about that. Like the coaches should. The coaches should be. I'd be coaching a terrible ball game. Like hell, I'll be letting Indy win. Let me get the number one overall pick. Let me hoard that. Maybe get a good player, or trade it to get a bunch of more good players. No, they're going out there coaching to win. I'd be out there coaching to lose. That's what the Penguins did back in the 80s. They coached to lose to get Mario Lemieux. These teams are coaching to win. No, This is why they're always going to be bottom feeders.
Also, let's see, Mike, let me give you the divisions. The AFC North looks like this. The Ravens are 11-5 in first place. The Steelers 10-6. Is that right? 3 in a row. Yeah, 10-6.
Yeah.
Second place, the Bengals 8-8. In third place, only two games behind the Steelers. So if they beat us, we will only finish one game ahead of the Bengals, which is crazy to me because we were 10-3 and they were way out.
Hey, we were supposed to be the worst team in the division.
We're getting there. Give it time, Mike. We're getting there.
We're close to the basement, boys.
Browns in the basement, of course, 3-13.
Yeah.
AFC East, the Bills 13-3, the Dolphins 8-8, the Jets 4-12, the Patriots 3-13.
That's always a fun sight to see.
The AFC West, the Chiefs 15-1, Chargers 10-6, Broncos 9-7. Looks like probably we'll get three teams out of that division.
Yeah.
We'll see. Raiders are 4-12 in the basement, and then finally in the AFC South, the Texans 9-7. The Colts 7-9 worked their way out of a playoff spot yesterday. Jaguars 4-12, and the Titans 3-13. Mike, we'll take a jump. We'll jump right over to the NFC side. We'll take a look, see what's going on over here. I want to start with this NFC North first. The Vikings 14-2, 14-2. The Lions 13-2 with probably they're going to tie it tonight if they beat San Fran. Packers 11-5, Bears 4-12. Over in the NFC East, the Eagles, they 13-3. They win the division. Commanders are 11-5.
Who saw that coming?
With the Commanders, I agree. The Cowboys 7-9, which I love.
Oh God. Giants
3-13. In the NFC West, the Rams trying to wrap up that division. The Rams could win that, guys. 10-6. The Seahawks are 9-7. Cardinals dropped to 7-9, and the 49ers, surprisingly, after the season they had last year, but with a lot of injuries, just like we did, they sit in the basement though with a 6-9 record. And finally, probably the worst division in the NFL, the NFC South. The Buccaneers are on top of that division with a 9-7. The Falcons 8-8. Michael Penix looking pretty decent in his game yesterday. The Saints are 5-11, and finally the Panthers, another bad team, 4-12. So that's how things look, Mike. And I just have one more note: the Kansas City Chiefs, with one game left on their schedule, they are 15-1, have not scored over 30 points all year. I find this to be crazy, just in general. When have you ever seen? I don't know if I've ever seen this, but this team is 15-1 with the chance of going 16-1, wrapping up the number one seed. They have not scored over 30 points all season. Them and a couple of really bad teams are the only teams to do that this year, Mike.
Yeah. It's wild. And real quick about that Panthers team, man, who would have? Bryce Young. I did not see this development come along. Holy shit.
Well, that's kind of what they need. I mean, here's the thing. That's why they drafted him. They thought this dude was going to be good, but still, they're only sitting with 4 wins. So, I mean, a lot is to be desired with that team still.
But yeah, they need a lot of pieces built around him. But my God, he looked lost last year. Beginning this year, they benched him for a handful of games, and he came back, and my God. Maybe this year the Steelers take a quarterback on the first round and sit him on the bench for a year.
Well, I mean, you and I, we talked a little bit about this, Mike. I mean, let's just say, and this year probably wouldn't be the best year to do it. Maybe make a losing project out of it next year. I don't know what you want to do, but if you could get a good quarterback, one of these top 5 kind of guys that go on in the NFL and win football games, which is what the Steelers need. I just think to myself, you're going to have to lose some football games. You're not going to get that guy by having an average season, by finishing 500, by making it to the playoffs and losing the first round. So we're going to remain in that limbo. At what point, Mike, we were saying, do you start from the bottom? Do you sell off on a lot of these players who might be considered extra weight and put that money towards a young quarterback. And or again, Mike, what I alluded to was the answer. I think listen, my answer is always this: you got to have an elite quarterback in the NFL. You do. You're not going to win if you don't. Bottom line, 5 teams have a chance, 27 teams don't. Listen, right now, after watching what I watched yesterday and knowing that McCarthy's coming back off an injury in Minnesota, I know they're going to want to keep Sam Darnold up in Minnesota. But Mike, this guy has been the only quarterback in Vikings history to have 14 wins in the season, which ties Ben Roethlisberger's record with 14 wins in our 15-1 season. Mike, this guy also, what was the other thing? There was another interesting fact about him in the Vikings, but I don't know. Mike, this guy I would pay money to. When he was with the Jets, I seen it in him. You know what? The Jets are the Jets. When he was with Carolina, I seen it in him. But Carolina's Carolina. Mike, this guy goes somewhere where there's a bit of a team around him and a bit of a structured organization. He excelled. Sam Darnold, guys, I would spend some money for him. I would cut loose some of the fat and back up the truck, give him some money, bring him in. I guarantee we're playing better this time next year. Or again, Mike, take next season to kind of self-destruct a little bit and then try to get a nice pick in the following draft and get that guy, being that they do have a wider quarterback class coming up in the following draft.
Yeah.
So a couple options. Do you want to bomb a season? No, that's just not the Pittsburgh way. We don't do that here. We play to win. We're competitive, and we always want to kick your ass. But at the end of the day, you have to use this sometimes and figure out how to get it done if you're not getting it done the way that we are doing it. Yeah. And it just might be something along these lines, guys.
That's what I'm a proponent for. Just blowing it all up to see what happens. We're not winning right now.
I mean, what's going to be the big loss? We have a bad season. Listen, guys, the last time we had a losing season was in the early 2000s. Is it going to hurt to start over fresh just to get a better team and make our team more equipped to be a competitive team come January?
Yeah, I'm all in favor of, you got to let someone like Cam Hayward walk. It's obvious they're going to let Dan Moore walk because that's why they drafted Fatanu and Broderick Jones. You gotta. I'm letting Minkah go. I'm seeing if I can trade him. I've seen if I can trade TJ Watt. They're getting to the downside of their careers. This is when you gotta move on and maximize a return from them. Do it like you do in other sports. Do it like you do in baseball, hockey, basketball. Move on from the vets to rebuild. We haven't won anything with them. We can continue to lose without them. I hate to say it because I like these guys. I like watching them play, but you got to do what you got to do.
Here's my question about the Christmas game. What was more gay? Was it the Christmas capes that the winners got to wear, or was it Tom Brady's voice? And you know what? Tom Brady wasn't even the voice on Christmas, was he? No, it was
no, it was
it was Kelsey.
No, we had J.J. Watt.
Or J.J. Watt, I'm sorry.
Nate Burleson and Ian Eagle's son.
That's beside the point. The point being is what's more annoying, those stupid Merry Christmas capes that the winner gets to wear?
Yeah.
Or was it Tom Brady's voice in the games that he announced? I can't take it. This guy says chunks way too many times. It's unsettling, to be honest. And he's whiny. And every time that guy's on my TV, we lose. So I don't like that. But those stupid red capes, how gay was that?
Those things were hideous. And those chocolate cake footballs that,
nobody even knew what that was for.
I know, everyone was all confused. Kelsey was like, ask her, and I'm going to go in and bite it. Mahomes was like, yeah, cool, fam, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll look at it and admire it from here again. It was a very piss poor production.
But
spending all that money, you thought you'd have something better. They were trying to rival.
He was wearing these gay capes, and I thought, you know what? It only fit. It was only fitting that they won them stupid capes. And you know what else? Was Taylor Swift even there?
They didn't show her.
Very interesting. A high-profile game, the end of the season, promoting Netflix. They didn't even announce. They didn't even say her name, which I found kind of odd. By the way, that they squeezed every penny out of her that they could last year.
Yeah.
But I don't listen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining, but just an observation. Mike, let's handle a couple of these messages before we do move on. We're getting a little bit behind here. Let's see. I'm going to start with. I'm going to start just after Norv Turner. John says the Steelers have a 2.8% chance of winning in the Super Bowl. Those are the same odds that John has hooking up with Derpy Zan. I think your chances with Peaches are a lot better than 2.8.
I think they're higher than that, bro.
You're selling yourself short, John.
Yeah.
You hang in there, buddy. I think Peaches, yeah. And you live in Vegas.
Sky's the limit.
I like your chances. Let's see. I can't believe the odds are that good with the Tomlin team at helm. Mark Malone says. P, I guess there's some more Norv questions or comments here. See, P says Norv Turner wasted a San Diego squad with multiple future Hall of Famers. Also, so they're having a little back and forth
Yeah,
here
they're having
between
a good back and
coaches.
forth. Yeah.
Let me get to. That was a pretty nice San Diego team, though, with LT and Gates and Rivers. Jeez, oh man. Mark Malone says Rivers was a complete and total douche of a. You know what? Not many people are going to argue that either. I got to be honest with you. As good as he was, a lot of people don't like the guy.
He was a douche, but he could fucking sling that
pigskin. Wing the ball. Good morning to Ralph. Ralph, happy New Year's to you, my friend. Hope everything went well and hope you have a safe New Year. P says when your leading receiver is the tight end for 5 years, running it may have a little to do with the organization, the scheme, and the organization. John says KC doesn't need to score over 30 points because their defense is very good. Very, very surprising to most people that play them that their defense is so good. Without Chris Jones, or what was that guy's name? Chris Jones.
Without Chris Jones, yeah. And
we scored 10.
Yeah, and they lost their number 2 corner, and they're just moving right along. Lose a star linebacker, go pick up another one. It's just they were just rolling through, man.
Let's see what else do we got here. Art Rooney II will at the end of the season order Mike Tomlin to fire Terrell Austin. You never know.
Never know.
Let's see, I thought he was okay. They're still in there. They're still debating this Chargers team. Let's see. There you go. And like Tomlin Steeler front office, John says the Steelers are more than a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl competitive. I think, as much as it hurts, I think you're right, John. No coach has ever done less with more than Tomlin. Mark Malone says this. P says, where are the Steelers spending money? They try to build through the draft while making the playoffs every year, spend some cash in free agency market. Wilson came with a year subscription to ESPN. No two ways about that.
That's true. Like we don't spend in free agency. We just, draft, develop, and retain.
Mark makes a good point as well. He says we have the highest paid defense in the entire NFL. That's not a joke. That's real. Also, Phil says 14 went over and kissed their asses, saying, come get me, freaking diva. Mark Malone and are perennially up against the cap. Half of that is what? Hey, let me ask you this, guys. You're getting the sacks out of what? Which a lot of people like. They like the fact that he's the sack leader. He has the tied for the all-time record in a season. He has third most of all players ever in the history of the game. But is that enough? Is that worth the money that we're spending on him that we don't have to put in other positions like the quarterback position or obviously positions that we need help in? Guys, would you be willing to sacrifice TJ Watt, which is a big thing, getting sacks and getting punched out balls and recovering fumbles? They're huge. But at what point would you pay the guy that touches the ball every single play of the game like Josh Allen does, Patrick Mahomes, anybody, any successful quarterback? At what point would you give up a TJ Watt to get your franchise quarterback? Think about that for a minute. He's like 28 million, Mark Malone says. Mark Malone says, I think we're head coach away from the Super Bowl, and P says 30 million on Watt alone. Second is 21. Baltimore Ravens, 76B more. I hope you had a great New Year's, my friend. He says postseason upon us. Let's get it. Mark Malone, Watt pulls a Hulk Hogan punching the ball out quite a bit. That's what I'm saying, guys. When it comes down to it, do you give up your TJ Watt to bring in your Ben Roethlisberger? Let's say, because when Ben was here, think of what our defensive guys were average, but they seem really good at times. Your Aaron Smith, I mean, he wasn't great, but guys like this was it worked because you have a franchise quarterback. Guys, do you trade out your TJ Watt and maybe a couple other guys that you want to keep around for your new Big Ben? Is that something that Steeler fans? Because here's the thing: if that happens, Mike, it's going to create some turmoil. People are going to be, going crazy. Oh my God, you can't get rid of TJ Watt. But at the end of the day, I think I would rather have my franchise quarterback.
I would too. And it's no disrespect to TJ Watt. I like him. He's a great player, but he's turning 31 next year. He's on the downside of his career. You're going to be paying Alex Highsmith about the same next year, same amount of money. cut him, take the dead cap hit, cut Minka, get the dead cap hit, let Hayward walk. You're stuck with Larry O's contract for another year. You're not saving Larry O next year's cap hits 13 million. You cut him, you're still on the hook for 11. So there's no cap relief there. So you got another, or no, I take it back. You can save. Yeah, I'd cut Larry O next year too. That's only a $3.5 million cap hit. To free up that cap space and then go look for younger skill players on the offense. Because coming into this season, your highest paid offensive player was Isaac Seumalo. Then the next highest paid offensive player, Chris Boswell at 4.7. Then Najee Harris on his rookie deal. So you have no one on your you don't get to the 11th highest paid player on your team at a skill position on offense. No, there's a reason we're not scoring points. We don't spend the money on offense. We gotta spend money on offense outside of 2 offensive linemen.
Oh, absolutely. Let me get back right here real quick to all right. John says the highest paid guy should be the quarterback, not a D player. Also, P says need to sacrifice everyone around Watt that's not producing and spend that money. Roger says, I think TJ Watt deserves to retire a Steeler. Roger says that. And you know what? These are all good answers. There's no, this is what I wanted. I wanted a difference of an opinion here, see what people thought that were part of Steeler Nation. Mark says, well, if we were to sign a QB like that, it would cost us $50 million a year. But again, look what happened when you have that quarterback. Look at all the good years we had with Ben Roethlisberger. Also, Mark says, but I do agree with the way the rules are today. You have to score 30 if you want to win. It's a quarterback league. Yeah. And we have a struggling quarterback situation. So that answers a lot of questions, guys.
Yeah. You got to swing back. You got to, you have to start spending money on the offense. You can't, hope on drafting and developing and penny pinching quarterbacks. We saw this when we had Kent Graham, Jim Miller, Cordell Stewart, Mike Tomczak. You can't win like that.
Jen says, wow, let's not lose our minds. Maybe we are. Maybe we're just losing our minds.
I'm not losing my mind. I'm thinking big picture down the line. You only have a couple years left with these guys. And, you're starting to see wear and tear on their performance later in the year.
Also,
they're not as productive as they were early in the year or early in their career. You can't be afraid to move on from guys.
Also, Mike, my favorite Baltimore Ravens fan, he says, wait, give up TJ Watt? We would TJ in Baltimore. Get rid of Patrick Queen. He is your liability. Also, P says, Steelers run the team to make a profit. They leave money unspent because Tomlin will make it work. And P says, to a point. So that's, let's think about that, guys, because when you realistically think about what it is it's going to take this team to get back to where we want to be, where the fans expect things to be. And Jen makes a good point. Look what the Falcons paid Cousins and where they are now, which I said at the beginning of the year, I said that was a big disaster down there. But this is where we're at, guys. So we play Saturday night. We're kind of on it's a long, short week. It's an NFL short week. But for the Steelers, of course, we played last Wednesday. So that puts us at about 10, 11 days, give or take. Bengals, Saturday, 8:00 p.m. I know a lot of Steeler fans, they do like the usual 1:00 Sunday afternoon game, especially if you're right here in the time zone. But Saturday night, guys, the Steelers host the Bengals. Saturday before that, the Ravens and the Browns. So a lot of things on the line this week and all around the league. It isn't just us, guys, but we can still win the division. Believe it or not, we can win the division, which at this point I went to Houston Texans in the first round. That's just me, just my opinion.
Me too.
Pieces, drug test and fire whoever rubber stamped that Cousins deal, right?
Oh my God.
Martin Malone, we spend all the money we legally can every year, though. Mike, let me jump into a couple things. We do have to move forward. We are upon about an hour now. The Penguins were back in action over the weekend. They played 2 games. They played a home and home against the New York Islanders. On Saturday night, the Penguins lose 6-3 to the Islanders. But yesterday, they get it back with a 3-2 win over the Islanders. While this is all going on, Sidney Crosby becomes the all-time assist leader on the Pittsburgh Penguins, passing Mario Lemieux with 1,034 assists all-time. Ooh. The all-time assist leader on the Pittsburgh Penguins, again, passing Mario Lemieux to be the number 1 assist leader all time for the Penguins.
The expectation for Crosby when he entered the NHL were sky high, and somehow he met them and is still exceeding them.
Penguins will be back in action tomorrow That's at 8 o'clock p.m. They will be hosting the Detroit Red Wings. The Pitt Panthers embarrassingly lose a 6 overtime bowl game in the game above Sports Bowl to Toledo. We're not going to talk about that for a while.
Nope.
Also, Mike, the Pirates. Here's one thing that I found out over vacation. The Pirates, only 6 major league teams have more World Series championships than the Pittsburgh Pirates. Believe it or not, only 6 more. Everybody else has the same, which was only the Reds, and everybody else less World Series wins than the Pirates. Suck on that. Suck on that.
Not bad for an organization that hasn't won diddly poo since
the past 30 years have been rough, but I got to tell you, it is one of the best.
We got that going for us,
Mike. It is one of the best franchises ever. When you take it pound for pound, those 30 years equal a lot of other teams. Their duration.
Yeah.
So again, only 6 teams have more World Series than the Pirates. Has nothing to do with today or now, but I found this interesting, and there you go. Also, the picks tomorrow we will be going over. Mike, I do know who won the picks because tonight you, Finch, and Derpy all have the Detroit Lions, so nothing changes, but I will not reveal the answer till tomorrow. We do know who the picks winner this week is. College playoffs, Mike. Tomorrow, the Penn State Nittany Lions. They are the only college game tomorrow, and then on Wednesday, the other 3 college football playoff games, which I think is really fun, really interesting, and it's something that gets us some midweek meaningful football, which is never a bad thing. The games, as I said, Mike, yesterday or tomorrow is who the Penn State against Boise State. Penn State's number 4, Boise State's number 9. Then on Wednesday, the Texas Longhorns, they play the higher ranked Arizona State, who is number 12 overall, but somehow they had the bye. The Rose Bowl game, which is 5 o'clock on Wednesday, is a rematch between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Oregon Ducks. They are ranked 1 and 6. And then finally, the Sugar Bowl game played at 8:45. The late game on New Year's Day is between number 5 Notre Dame and number 2 Georgia. So once this is over, guys, you're going to be down to your final 4 of college football. It should, in theory, be the 4 best teams left. We'll see how that plays out. Again, tomorrow, 7:30 Penn State. The following day on New Year's Day, 1, 5, and 8:45 are your 3 games. College football. Mike, why don't you go and tell everybody about the website?
The2dumbYinzers.com. Y'all know about it. Head on over there, guys. Check it out. The2dumbYinzers.com.
Oh, man, I just had to breathe like that, man.
I know. I don't know why I did that. I apologize.
On the board real quick here, P says Steelers got $9 million chilling on the cap right now. Get that crazy AB back. You know what? At this point, I would take him. Why not? At this point, you give this guy a couple $1 million. Let him play the last couple of games, see what he could do. Guys, also, let's get into the trivia question of the day. Mike, we are back into the Bengals questions, as that is who we play this week to wrap up the season. Mike, we're wrapping up the NFL season. Ooh. The Steelers are on Saturday. Unbelievable. We waited 365 days. We waited from the draft, from the free agency to camp, to mini camp, to the cuts. Mike, we are just days away from the last regular season game of the Steelers against the Bengals. This is a Bengals question, guy. Of course, our trivia segment is how well do you know thy enemy? Here we go, guys. This is the trivia question of the day. This is about the Bengals. Mike, put on your thinking cap. Deontay went to Houston, but I don't know if we're even going to see him playing.
I don't think so.
Deontay is a Texan. Here is the question, Mike. Put on your thinking cap. Everybody on the board, everybody at home. Here we go. The Bengals' first season was 1968. What year did they make their first playoff appearance, guys? The Bengals' first season was 1968. But what year did they make their first playoff appearance? Take a minute to think that over, guys. We're live 5 days a week right here, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day right here on YouTube. Except this week, guys, we are off on New Year's Day, but we will be here today, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. And again, tomorrow is episode 666. Not by design. It just worked out that way. New Year's Eve, 666. Very interesting. But the question, guys, of the day is this. The Bengals' very first season was 1968. What I want to know is what year was the first year they made the playoffs? Mike, do you have any idea on this?
1974.
1974. Is that your final answer?
Yes.
All right, so Mike says 1974. Finchy on the board. Finchy says 1979. Phil says 1981. Finchy says, Mike, then the light down, you look like, turn the light down, you look like an eaten pork smiley cookie. I don't think you look like a smiley cookie, but there you go, Finch. Finch says 1979.
Turn it off.
Well, you know what? I got to be honest with you. Remember, guys, the Chucky Akobe before we did go on break? It was like a Right Said Fred video on here at the end of that show when Finch took off his hat and there was just bald heads everywhere. That's why I've never seen anything like it. It turned into this Right Said Fred music video. Anyway, besides the point, Phil still says 19. What'd you say? Eating bugs?
Eating Park smiley cookie.
Oh, Phil still says 1981. Finch says 1979. Mike, you say 1974. Again, the question of the day is this: the Bengals' first season was 1968. What year did they make their first playoff appearance? Mike says 74. Guys, the answer to the question is they made their first pieces. I want to say the Kosar era, somewhere in the 1980s. The answer, guys, they lost 17-0 to the Baltimore Colts in 1970. 2 years it only took them. The Bengals were in the playoffs their second year. So interesting. They lost 17-0 to the Colts. That was their first playoff game. Finch says, I'm too sexy for my Eaton Park cookie. I like it. Tie back to the Right Said Fred video. Mike, before we do get ready to wrap things up, I got a question.
Yeah.
And I want your honest opinion. I don't want your listen. These astronauts that's been stuck in space since June.
Yeah.
They expected to be home in June.
Yeah.
Why did they have Santa hats in their little tiny spaceship packed with everything that they needed to survive? They had Christmas hats on last week in their video.
Yeah.
Mike, they were supposed to be home in June.
Yeah, but they're on the International Space Station that gets regular scheduled deliveries.
Why can't they get back? What's you could get to the International Space?
It's the shuttles they need to get back and forth with, and they're up there.
And they have Christmas hats on the International Space Center.
Yeah, that they get sent up. Yeah.
From who? Why don't they just bring the people home? What? Mike, they've been up there since June. They're supposed to come home in June.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
So anyway, listen. All right, no, I take your answer.
Because I know they were sent up by Boeing or some shit like that, and then they fucked up, and now they want everyone else to save them. Like, no, you.
So they have every unnecessary little thing you could possibly have up there for every holiday. For
well, yeah, for the International Space Station for their people. Yeah.
Interesting. I don't buy it, but you know what? There are going to be people that do buy it. I just wonder how in the heck that they, there's a lot of questions of that. Again, they should have been home in June. They're up there wearing Santa hats, but that's just my extra. Mike, what do you have for the day? Anything extra after your long Christmas vacation? I know you have something interesting you want to bring up.
What do I have interesting to bring? I got nothing interesting to bring up, Brian. You're the star of the show, my friend.
That's true.
I am just a co-pilot on the show.
So you have nothing, Mike.
I'm dragging the show down, so I'm just going to stop speaking right now.
Thank you, guys. Welcome. Also, be sure to tune back in tomorrow. Tomorrow is episode 666. And again, if you don't know, I'm probably guessing that you're unfamiliar with why Mike is acting funny now. It's because he had an argument over the weekend with somebody that used to be involved with the show. And we're not going to talk about it just yet, but that's what that was all about. So just in case Mike's confusing everybody, that's what's happening there.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
I don't know why you did. I think that was odd that you did.
Yeah, it's it's like I'm a bully or something.
Yeah, but nobody here had anything to do with it, so that's what I'm saying. Let's. I don't think we should talk about that.
They're in the basement.
That's where I'm going, P. I think you're more along the mindset that I am. He says I call bullshit. They're in the basement testing out anti-gravity tech in Texas somewhere, which is a possibility. But Mike, here's the thing, Mike. You kind of opened this can of worms. Now I didn't want to bring it up, but we kind of have to now. I mean, it's a weird thing. That's a weird thing to bring up like that, the way that you did it. And I just think that it's odd.
I feel like I was hand walked right into that one,
which had nothing to do with anybody that had anything to do with what you're talking about. That's the.
I thought that's where you're leading
me. Anyway, all right, guys. We are going to get ready to wrap things up. I do want to say thank you to everybody for coming and hanging out with us today. I do want to say thank you, and I hope everybody had a great Christmas, a great holiday with their family. Everybody stayed safe. I want to say thank you to everybody for watching us. I do want to say thank you to everybody on the board for coming and hanging out as well. You guys always keep things interesting, and maybe, just maybe, we will get a little bit more into, as the week goes on, what Mike's encounter was over the weekend with somebody that was formerly a part of the show. But again, I don't think it was a great idea to jump into that just yet, Mike. But we'll figure it out, guys. You sure you don't have anything before we go, man?
No.
Okay.
I got nothing, man. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in, man.
All right. Sounds good. P, let's see. He says either that or they're gonna keep them up until somebody gets pregnant. That's what I'm saying. What do you do in space for? Oh, geez, how miserable that must be.
Crazy up there, Jesus.
I know. But again, though, tomorrow we will be back. Tomorrow is episode 666. We'll be off on Wednesday. We'll be back Thursday, Friday to finish out the week and get ready for the Cincinnati Bengals tonight. The Monday Night Football game is the Detroit Lions in the San Francisco 49ers. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about that and all kind of other things. Again, tomorrow Penn State does play their bowl game. Yes. A lot of things going on, guys. Penguins back at it tomorrow. So we'll have a lot to talk about tomorrow, and we have to try to figure out what it is that the Steeler team is going to do moving forward. So, guys, we'll be back at our regular time tomorrow, episode 666. Keep that in mind. For Mike in the Steeler Central Mobile Studio, for myself, the Two Dumb Yinzers, everybody have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.